So, today marks the final moment where my dad's body has left this earth. The last 2 weeks and a day have been quite the whirlwind for me. 2.5 weeks ago, I knew I was going to be heading to Denver to stay with my mom while my dad went into the hospital to check out a problem that he was having with swallowing. He felt like there was something choking him. We found out 2 weeks ago, yesterday, that he had cancer, advanced cancer, and he decided he didn't want treatment. My dad has led a life that few would envy, because he had to make the ultimate sacrifice. When I went to Denver 2 weeks ago, my biggest fear was being alone with my mom. She was given a start in life that no one would envy. And she made the best of it throughout her life and is continuing to do so. But what she inherited was too much to survive and even too much to control. And so her burdens and her fears and her struggles became my dad's. And neither one of them had the capability to be able to harness them. And so it became what it did. But when my dad came into this world, he came into this world with a mom who wasn't cut out to be a real mom. And so at some point, she had to relinquish her motherhood bonds to her husband and the family that he already had before my dad even came on board. My dad's mom, I think, was his third wife. And so there was someone after my dad's mom. And so my dad grew up with a family that had already been established, and where he was the half brother. But they all embraced him as though they were all one single family. But what my dad must have struggled with in his quiet moments before and after and during all those tender year processes, what he would tell was a story of a mom that was almost nuts, but also a mom that he felt did the best that she could. And so when my dad was diagnosed with cancer, he needed the support of his family more than he ever did. And my dad was never really a family man. He was never the kind of person that really wanted a wife and probably even wanted kids. But as we got older and began having more meaningful conversations, he started to let me in more. And so I was able to find a real satisfaction in whatever the connection was that we had. And so was my sisters, both my sisters. And so in these last couple weeks was quite the profound turnaround for not just me and my sisters and my children, who knew my dad from, the moment they were born, really, because both my parents were there. We all lived in the same place, in the same town. And my mom was very diligent in making sure that she got to babysit my kids once a month. And so Adam and Ava got to know them very intimately from a young age. And that set the tone for two hearts that bonded with him at a young age. And he with them. My dad was never the kind of person for babies or toddlers, and so he pretty much let Adam and Ava know from the moment they could communicate that this was going to be a different kind of relationship. And it was. So, being a part of my dad's wishes in these last few weeks has stretched me, my heart, beyond comprehension, because he was, besides my children, the love that I couldn't imagine not having in this world. So, before I left the yurt this last time going to Denver, I knew when I came back I would be different. I knew it would all be over. And for the life of me, I couldn't comprehend what was coming. What I knew before I left here was that my dad wasn't ready to cross over. And all that I've come to know in the spiritual realm is the mindset and the open heart that you leave this world is what you see immediately in the next. And so I loaded up my suitcase with everything I felt like I needed in order to prepare him. I had all different things. I had a singing bowl, the vibration to heal him and open up his heart. had music. How Great Thou Art by Elvis Presley. I had my son Adam scrambled to put in DVD form his very first movie, which was, gosh, I guess about 20 years ago, and my dad was the star of it. It's called Segneri, and my dad recounted very meaningful, profound moments of his life. My dad had always been cocky and arrogant and confident and chauvinistic and larger than life. But before he moved to Denver, I guess about 6 years ago, he had his first real personal hardship. He had had a simple procedure done in Arizona on his foot that turned into an infection that when my mom finally moved to Denver to be close to my older sister Cindy, it was determined that the infection was too far gone and that they were going to have to amputate part of his foot, his toes, and a little bit of his foot from there. That was the first time I saw my dad cry in the hospital room. But he went through with the surgery, of course. But he closed a door in his mind to, I think, the proudest moments of his life, which was his athleticism. My dad used to love to play softball, and he was a football hero in high school and in junior college. I wanted to take a football back with me just a few days ago, but I couldn't deflate it properly, and so I didn't mess with it. But he was the captain of his junior college football team, and they had won a conference, and my dad got the football. And so it was written on there, the date and the conference, and my dad, Captain Segneri. And my dad also had profound glory in his tennis days when we had moved to Chesterfield, Missouri. And so when I was 10, my family moved from Chicago to St. Louis and built a house and joined Bath and Tennis Club and had a big group of friends, and my dad just delighted in the competition. And I have actually, one of the things I did bring back with me were all his senior Olympic tennis awards, medals, that he actually had push-pinned above his bed to the wall. And I had asked my dad in these last couple weeks, because I knew that each one was for a different caliber of a medal. And I said, was there any one that meant more to you than the others? And he said, no. They all were important. So I brought them back with me. But shortly after my dad arrived to Denver and had the personal trauma of losing part of his foot, to which he decided he would not step foot on a tennis court again. And he didn't. Never picked up a racket. But he fell in the bathroom in my sister's apartment. Knocked out his front teeth. He got replacement dentures, but that was also a huge ego blow to him, because my dad had a smile that could light up a room. And so, even when I went to go visit him in the hospital that Tuesday, 2 weeks ago, this last Tuesday, and I noticed he was wearing his mask, his face mask. I said, Dad, you don't have to wear that here. But he told me it helped cover up his mouth and his missing teeth when he wasn't wearing his dentures. And he had a nurse that he was already getting in her good graces and, charming the way that he did. And so he felt self-conscious, even though I tried to tell him I no longer saw his missing teeth. I realized that actually on that visit, that his personality when he was shining was more than the physical. And he even confided to me in that first week that I was there about the insecurities that he had and how other people perceived him. And he was worried about what people thought and what people would think about his decision to not accept treatment, and how soon he was to leave this earth. In those next few days, my dad and I played pool at their clubhouse. And there was a pool table at his 85th birthday. It's the same clubhouse. And I wasn't around. I was busy taking care of other things for the party, cleaning up and whatever. But I thought all these people that were playing my dad, I saw that he had turned from a strong, confident man into somebody who had lost a lot of weight because of his inability to eat and the doubts that were plaguing his mind. And I saw my dad turn into a more feeble man. And so the idea that anybody would have even beaten my dad on his 85th birthday, I thought, oh, I hope people let him win. And so when me and my dad went to the clubhouse, that first week that I was there, the week that he was diagnosed, the week that I knew that my dad's days were severely numbered. We went to go play pool, and I am a horrible pool. I can't even. I never figured out how to even hold a cue stick. And so when I watched my dad break, I was so impressed. And I told him, I said, oh my God. And I confessed to him what I had thought, that I felt like he probably didn't have it anymore. And when I saw him playing pool with each shot he took, it was so meaningful to me, because he had the strength and the focus of the dad that I remembered. And I cheered every shot he took. I cheered from honesty. And he helped me. He helped me with my shots. And I played better than I've ever played in my entire life. It was complete luck. But on some level, I think the universe helped, because they gave my dad a run for his money. And in the last stages of the game, we were neck and neck. I mean, it was just like 2 balls to 2 balls, and then 1 ball to 1 ball. And I don't know if I ever got to the place where I had no balls, but he definitely, there was the place, and maybe we did. Maybe we both were ready to shoot for the 8 ball. I don't remember. And when my dad did, and he sunk it, I jumped up and down. I was so happy for him. And he confessed to me as we were walking out. He was afraid I was going to win. And I said, "Oh, Dad, if I had won, I know that you would have been happy for me, because you would have been like, here's the torch, from father to daughter. Here's the torch." And he said, you overestimate me." And I said, "Well, maybe you wouldn't have thought of it in your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind would have known." And ultimately, my sister Susie, in the 5 days or whatever, the few days, I don't remember if it was 5 or not, but the few days that I had come back here to close up and repack and stuff, my sister did. Younger sister Susie, who is a great pool player. Not only did she beat my dad the first game, even though she was trying not to, but the second game, my dad shot the 8 ball and scratched. So he had to walk away from that and hopefully remember what I had said. And ultimately, he passed the torch to my younger sister. But in the last day of my dad's life, he let me prepare his way. It wasn't his way. He was pretty much so ready to be over. But his mind seemed closed, and as well as his heart. And I just needed the assurity that he was crossing over and would find the light quickly. And so I brought pictures of his family that he grew up, his biological family, his dad and his brothers and his sister. He has a brother and sister who have crossed over. Both his parents have crossed over. I played music, like I said. I opened a portal. And as those of you that have been following me know, that I came to discover, when you break glass, portal opens and it amplifies the hours yet to come. And so this crystal ball was my first ever crystal ball. I got it shortly after I came to Topanga. And I used to bring it to my grandmother's grave here in Los Angeles, my dad's mom. I don't think any family, or probably anybody, had ever visited that grave before me. I didn't even know where it was. We didn't even really know what cemetery it was. So when I was guided to a particular cemetery, just because I enjoy that energy, it started to look familiar. It's called the Rosedale Angelus Cemetery here in Los Angeles. And so there was, when I went to the main office to see if she was buried there, they checked and told me yes, she was. And then they gave me a map to where her plot was. And I thought to myself, nope. Because I was with my dad when he flew to Los Angeles after his mom died. And I helped him make decisions with an open heart. Because at that point, he had had a lot of conflict with the memory of his mom. So I intuited what I remembered from decades before that, and found her grave quickly. And since then, I've been visiting her grave and bringing my crystal ball. And as it happened, gosh, I guess it was about a little over 2 months ago, when I just was going to visit her again, I left my crystal ball there. And I realized it after I had gotten back. And at this point, the cemetery was closed, and it was a half hour away, and I stopped to think about it. I stopped to think, do I go back and get it? Or do I let it stay there? And I decided within minutes I was going to let it stay there. And that my intention was that she would become to know her grave would have a distinction. She would have the only crystal ball in that cemetery. But the cemetery is not in an affluent place. It's in an impoverished neighborhood. There's tents. People are living in tents on the sidewalk in front. And I knew that something so beautiful would certainly attract attention. And so thy will be done, you know. If it stayed, it stayed. If somebody took it, then they were meant to have it. So, when I went to go visit her plot a couple weeks later, I was delighted to see that it was still there. And then when Adam and Ava and I went back on Father's Day, it was still there. And we had the most incredible, or it was Mother's Day, Mother's Day. Or was it Father's Day? It was Father's Day. in June. It was Father's Day. Anyways, before I went back to Denver this last time, I went back to her grave, hoping this was still there, because this was going to be the glass that I was going to crack to open the portal, her crystal ball. So the day before I was to leave, I went there. It was there. I replaced it with a larger purple one. And so, before I cracked this, the morning that my dad left this earth, I asked him when I was doing all these things, and he quickly opened his heart and was flooded with love and the memory of the video and feeling the vibration of the singing bowl and remembering his biological family that had passed on. I asked him, I said, Dad, I'm not sure who you're going to see. You may see everybody after you cross over. I said, how would you feel if your mom was there? Would that be okay? And without 1 second's pause, he said, absolutely it would be. And I knew I could open a portal with this crystal ball, her crystal ball. And I did. I heated it up in the toaster oven. Then I put it in ice. And it cracked the way it was meant to crack. I didn't realize it until after I had gotten home, just yesterday, that it actually had cracked in a rose pattern. So many signs. After my dad left this earth, he was dropping signs everywhere for all of us. My mom's wish before he had died was that she would heal her, help heal her. Mine was to win the Powerball or to win the lottery, and I would share it 3 ways with my sisters. But what happens when you open a portal is whoever opens the portal is challenged beyond comprehension. And so my intention to open the portal was that he find the light quickly. And it was for my mom too, because I knew that she was gonna face incredible challenges of a life without my dad and walking on her own 2 feet. And so everything worked out the way that when you crack a portal, by golly, and I rose to the challenges that were put in front of me. I had angels' hands on my shoulders. And I was able to give my dad the support he needed in the ways I had to give it to him. And one of the things that meant so much to me that I wasn't able to fully digest until I got here yesterday. I showed him a video of somebody that was very special to me. And he said, "Oh, he's a good-looking fella." And I said, "Dad," and I rolled my eyes, "he looks like you." And my dad hit octaves that only a schoolgirl would know. And he said, "Oh." And in those last hours of his life, I felt like he reclaimed that confidence and pride in who he was. And today, the day that his body was cremated, I called, and I called yesterday, and they said he was scheduled later this afternoon, but they were waiting on a permit, state permits, and that if I called today, I could find out the status, and I did. And they said that the permit had arrived a half hour ago, and that he was scheduled to go in the cremation chamber within the half hour. So I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I knew that there's a lot of stuff that happens when the physical body finds its ultimate resting place, whether that's being buried or cremated. And so I quickly texted my children and said, "Be still and be aware and notice the shift." And we did. And me and my daughter Ava, my dad was dropping the signs, the undeniable, real, bizarre signs. I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be getting these signs. But this whole process has been completely sacred to me. When my cat Huda died in January, I had never imagined the process of death and dying could be so beautiful. Such a story that was. And I just followed my heart. Same thing I did with my dad. Nothing was scripted. But I knew what I had to do in order to help him find the light. I have no doubt, no question whatsoever. I just didn't know he would be so friggin' powerful. But he gave his life for my mom. And she knows that. He wasn't always the easiest of dads or the easiest of husbands. But he did his best. And in the end, he was surrounded by women who showed him the power of love, real love. That chauvinistic dad crossed over with a very different impression of what women can be. And I believe it helped heal him. And when he ultimately did find his mom, whether she was one of the first people he saw or not, I believe there was a lot of healing that took place. And she was probably part of it. Part of it, because, I cherish this crystal ball so much. And even more so now. And that's my story. I'm sticking to it. God bless you.